Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. In this episode, I'm going to answer the question, what is the difference between Lightroom and Photoshop and Camera Raw? Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. My name is Serge Ramelli. I am a French photographer living in the romantic, the cute, the amazing, the very small, but the very fantastic city of Paris, France. And also, I live in the very sunny city of Los Angeles, California. Although these days it's raining a lot. And I make 2 tutorials per week. Click here if you want to access one of the biggest free RAW files library in the world. All you have to do is sign up on my website, put in your email address, you create an account, and then you get access to the free lessons. You will get my daily newsletter, but in the free lesson, you get access to the source files. And the source files are RAW files, Lightroom presets, brushes, Photoshop presets, goodies, many things. Or you can click here to subscribe to my YouTube channel. One of the questions I've been getting the most over the last years is what is the difference between Lightroom and Photoshop? This is very obvious for many of you, but for some people starting it is not that obvious. So let me show you the differences and let me show you also what they have in common. If you're interested in having Lightroom or Photoshop, which we're going to be using in this tutorial, the only way now you can have it is with the Creative Cloud, which is honestly amazing. If you go to photoserge.com, you can get a good deal. Photoserge.com, you click on My Gear, and there is a big thing saying Authorized Affinity Partner Creative Cloud Photography. If you buy it through this link, you will get a little better price. You will get $7.99 instead of $9.99. Plus, you will help me. So, because I have a partnership with Adobe, and the Creative Cloud Photography is Lightroom and Photoshop. There is no way to just get Photoshop or just get Lightroom. I don't think you can. Or maybe you can just get Photoshop. But that's really a good deal for $7.99. It's the price of 2 coffee, and it's amazing in terms of software. So now let me show you what the difference is. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about the difference between Photoshop, Bridge, which is the husband and wife, and Lightroom. When I started photography, I was only using Photoshop, and I think I only went onto Lightroom, on version 2, and I couldn't understand why. What was the big buzz about Lightroom? Now, of course, if you follow my channel, which is mainly oriented to Lightroom, and you know everything there is about Lightroom, this is going to be a very boring episode for you, or maybe not, because I'll show you a few tricks. So here on my desktop, I've got 3 files which I want to make a panel with, and 1 regular file. I'm first going to start off in Photoshop. There is 2 ways you can open a photo in Photoshop. The first one is you can take your RAW file and you can drag and drop it directly on the Photoshop icon. Because it's a RAW file, it's going to open up Camera Raw, which is what it did. Okay? And now I'm going to retouch it. Now the retouching aspect, whether it's Lightroom or Photoshop, is exactly the same, and I'm going to prove it to you. On this one, I'm going to first open up the shadows, so I discover what's inside the shadows, and I'm bring down the highlights to get all the details in the sky. And then I'm going to press the Alt key on my keyboard and move my black slider to the left to force in some dark points, some black points. Okay, and then I'm going to do the white slider to the right until I see some white points. You see these little red dots are points which are 100% white. Okay, so that's sort of my basic retouching. It's already quite a difference, but I'm going to then go into shade as a white balance, because I think it might help. Oh, it's already into shade. Or let's check daylight. Yeah, daylight I think is nicer. Daylight would be nicer. Maybe add a little bit of magenta. Okay, so there is a basic idea. Maybe I'm going to boost the overall exposure. And then add a bit of contrast. Maybe add a little bit of vibrance and saturation. If you're not familiar with all the settings, I invite you to check out my channels. I explain them in very much detail. The purpose more is to show you the difference between Photoshop and Lightroom. So I like that basic retouch. Now, there's other things we can do, which I want to do on this photo, which is here in a lens correction. I want to go and not lens correction, I want to go to profile, and on about the profile lens correction, that's going to take out some vignetting that's going on in a photo. And then I want to go to this tab, which is a 3rd tab, which is detail, and I want to add some sharpening. But first, let me see if there is any noise. So to check if there's any noise, you can go here and click at 100% to zoom into your photo. Press the space bar to move around. I can see there is a bit of noise here, especially in the statue when I open up the shadows. So I'm going to bring this around probably 25. That should take care of a lot of the noise here. It took care of the noise in the sky. And then I have this rule where I take the number 100 and I deduct whatever was in noise reduction. So I put the sharpening at 75. It's going to bring back a lot of noise. And that's when I do my masking. Masking is basically, I'm going to press the Alt key and move to the right. Anything which is black is not going to get sharpened. Okay, anything which is black is not going to get sharpened. Voila. And that's about it. I'm going to click here to go back and fit into view. Okay, so now basically I'm finished with this. If I click open image, it's going to open the image in Photoshop. And voila. So that's my basic retouching. Now I can do further retouching if I want in Photoshop, but that's the basic idea. Very simple idea. Now if I jump over to Lightroom, which is here, and I take the same photo and I go to the develop module, I basically have as the same sliders. Okay, so I can, open up the shadows, bring down the highlights, press on the Alt key and do my white point, do my black point, go to daylight, maybe add a little bit of magenta. That's what I did. Boost a little bit the exposure. You know what I mean? Sharpening, I can do the same thing. I can do to 75. It's the exact same thing. Masking 50, noise reduction 25, and about the profile. It's just like here in Lightroom, the exact same engine is here from top to bottom. When on Camera Raw, you have to go, basically you have to go from tabs to tabs. It's a bit, I find it's a bit more confusing, but see, now I'm back. I went into bridge on the same area and the photo is retouch, or I can go back to Photoshop and the photo is there. So the engine itself is exactly the same. Exactly the same. Now I want to show you a more complex example of retouching before I show you the big difference between Lightroom and Photoshop. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to bridge. Now to open bridge, what you have to do is go to File, a browse in bridge, which is what I did. Bridge is open. I'm on my desktop, and on my desktop I had 3 other photos, which is a panorama. Now there was a new option that was done for panorama in Camera Raw and in Lightroom, and it's a bit tricky because there's 2 ways you should do a panorama from bridge. You can select all 3 photos and you can go to Tools, Photoshop, Photo Merge. But I would not do that, because if you do that, what's going to happen is that your RAW files are going to become PSD files or TIFF files, and you won't have a RAW development. You will not have developed your RAW files fully before you went into a panorama, which I don't advise you to do. The best is to select your 3 photos, right-click, open in Camera Raw, and you can select all 3 photos, which is here, and there is a new menu here. You can click here and it says merge to panorama, and you can merge to panorama. Okay, here is the preview. Let's make it bigger. I'm not going to click auto crop on this because I took this photo on purpose because there's a lot of land. Like if I want to get the exact composition that I want, it's a very dark photo that I shot by hand, and I want to do a lot of things on this photo. I think I'm going to go for, cylindrical. You got, different projections, spherical, cylindrical, and perspective. It's not as good as auto pano, which I use for most advanced panorama, but it's pretty good. So I'm going to merge it. But so it's going to ask me where to merge it. I'm going to put it on my desktop and I'm going to save it. And what's going to happen is that it's still one big RAW file. It's one big RAW file, but now it's a panorama. So that's kind of cool. It's actually still working on it here on the left, but I can start doing my magic. I can boost up the exposure. I can bring down the highlights, open up the shadows, do my black point. This photo needs a lot of, black point, white point. This photo is really dark. Okay, I'm going to boost the vibrance and the saturation. Voila. I think I'm going to go to shade for this. and maybe add a little bit. I think I'm going to maybe go to cloudy on this one. Cloudy. Yeah, cloudy would be interesting. And in Camera Raw and in Lightroom, you've got what we call local tools. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done here on the cropping, but I'll take care of that in Photoshop. But for now, I just want to add a radial filter, and I want to enhance this beautiful sunset that I have here. So I'm going to make sure it effect is only on the inside. I'm going to make one big circle, and I've already prepared this before. You see by default, if I click here, it's all going to go down to 0. What I want is boost the temperature, white and magenta here. Maybe add a bit of saturation. I want to make this really strong. See the before and after. I'm just adding a bit of sky here. Feather is at 100%. I'm going to click on the end to be out of it. Okay, and then I'm basically finished. So on this, I can do noise reduction. So for this, make sure you zoom in at 100%. Now this one is very noisy because I shot by hand. So I'm going to probably go around 35 on this one. And remember, I have this rule. Remember the rule. The rule is crazy. You take 100, okay, and you deduct whatever you put in luminance. So that would be then 65 of sharpening. Okay, that's completely invented by me. Why? Because I just find it gives good result. Okay, sharpening, don't forget to do your masking. You don't need to sharpen the sky. So masking, you press the Alt key and you move to the right. Anything which is black is not going to get sharpened. And boom, boom. Okay, we go and click on Fit into View. And that's my basic retouching on this one. Maybe let's go to Underbar Lens Profile. Yeah, that kind of helps. And I think on this one, I'm going to add a bit of clarity, which I don't like to do all the time. There's still a lot of work to be done in Photoshop. That's why I took it. This is more of an advanced retouching. So I'm going to open the image. Okay, it's going to save it as a DNG, like as a sort of a super RAW file. And it's going to open it up in Photoshop here any seconds from now. All right, here it is in Photoshop. Now in Photoshop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the layer. Okay, and then I'm going to press Command T, or you can go to Edit, Free Transform, Command T, and then I'm going to rotate a little bit the photo to make sure it's kind of straight. Now I want to, recover some of that line, but first I'm going to hold on the Command key on my keyboard. I imagine it's Control on Windows, and when you do that, you can move around this little handle on each cropping points, and I'm just going to correct a little bit the perspective by hand, like this, to bring back a little bit of more land here and land there. Yes, something like this. Want to make sure my letters are pretty straight. Hollywood from behind. That's pretty cool. Okay, so then I'm going to crop. Now I still have a lot of sky missing and things like this. You know what? So I'm going to take the crop tool and I'm going to crop here a little bit here, maybe a little tiny bit there, little bit here, and maybe a little bit here. Yeah, but I still have an issue here and here. So for this, I'm going to correct this with taking and that's the beauty of Photoshop, that you can definitely not do in Lightroom. I'm going to take my magic wand, for example. I'm going to make sure that contiguous is off. So when I click one time on this transparent area, it's going to select both. Then I'm going to make my selection bigger by going to Modify, select, Modify, Expand, and I'm going to expand at 50 pixels my selection. And then I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Fill, Content Aware, and press OK. Content Aware is an amazing method where it's just going to try to figure out what should be in this part and recreate the matter to fill that in. It usually does a good job. You usually have to refine it with a stem tool. Okay, boom. Command D to unselect. And you see there is some weird stuff. So I'm going to take S for the stem tool. I'm going to press Alt here to select whatever matter is here and copy it there because that's kind of weird. I'm going to take this out. This is maybe repeating a little bit too much. This also. But the rest is pretty cool. Two things I still want to do. I want to take that cable off. So for this, you have to go here, and you can take the spot hitting brush tool. Okay, I'm going to make it roughly. I'm going to zoom in a bit and make it roughly. J is the shortcut for that tool. J, this is where you have all these tools. I'm taking the spot healing brush tool. I'm going to click once and press the shift key and just click once, press the shift key, and I'm going to do it bits by bits. Once, shift key. So it doesn't always work. I don't know why. Because you can just also do this, but sometimes I like to, and voila, now it worked. Press the shift key. Now it worked. Click and press the shift key. Okay, click and press the shift key. Okay, now usually you have to correct a few things, like some stuff went wrong here. So you can take the stem tool, make it very small, holding the Alt and Control key and moving your mouse to make the tool smaller. And I'm going to copy this here because I did something weird. Voila. Here I'm going to copy this matter here. Okay. I mean, the idea is that somebody cannot recognize this. I'm not going to... There is other videos that I've made on using the stem tool. But basically what happens is when you use this tool, the spot healing brush tool, sometimes it leaves a little trace that you have to erase with a stem tool. But that's the basic idea. Nobody will see that there was a cable here. And one last thing that I want to do on this photo is that I'm going to duplicate the layer, and check on my channel. I have a lot of, if you're not familiar with Photoshop, I have a lot of very easy video to use Photoshop. I'm going to put this on multiply because I want to make this much darker. Okay, and then I'm going to basically take the rectangle marquee tool, make a big rectangle, because I only want this to be applied here at the bottom. And then I'm going to go to select. That rectangle I'm going to feather, and I'm going to feather it like 500 pixels. So it's going to be very feathered. It's going to be a very gentle selection. Okay, I don't know why it didn't work. Let me see. Select, modified feather, 500 pixel. Okay, delete. Yeah, it did work. And you see, I made this a bit darker. Because I don't want so much. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make this a little even more darker. I'm going to take an empty layer. I'm going to put this in overlay mode. Take a brush. Make it a big brush, B for brush. Make black the foreground color. Make the opacity of the brush around 18%. And then I'm just going to paint with black. I don't want so much attention to be on this foreground, which I don't think is nice. But well, that's the basic idea. I think I'm going to crop it even more. I'm going to crop this photo. The crop tool is here. I want a little bit less sky and a little bit less ground. Voila, something like this. And then I probably would do another curve. Take the curve tool. I'm just going to go here in the presets and take a medium contrast. That might be a bit too strong. That's pretty cool. Medium contrast, and maybe do another curve. I like to do 2 curves in Photoshop. And then voila, and make it a bit brighter. So 1 curve for contrast and 1 curve for making brighter after the contrast. Because usually when you do an S curve for contrast, what happens is that you make the photo darker. I could also spend time making this letters more white. There's still things that I could do on this photo, but that's a bit a general idea. Now, the same photos in Lightroom is basically the idea is you can just select all 3, right click, edit, photo merge, panorama, and you basically get everything is exactly the same. So far, all we have done is exactly whether it's using Bridge and Photoshop or Lightroom. So what's the difference? Well, let me just show you this. I'm not going to redo the whole retouching in Photoshop, but I'm going to take it to the point where we go into Photoshop. So same thing here. I'm not going to crop it. I'm going to use the same projection, which was cylindrical. I think that's the one we use. I'm going to merge it. So it's going to create that sort of super raw file panorama. And the advantage of it is that a raw file is the top of the top in terms of data. The white balance is not fixed, so you can change the white balance. Once you go out of the raw files area and you go into Photoshop or into another software, you have developed your raw file, and the white balance is written in in burning letter, and it's very hard to change. So I try to do as much as I can, whether it's in Camera Raw or whether it's in Lightroom, before I play around with Photoshop, because I want to make sure my white balance is correct. I want to make sure that my noise has been reduced. I want to make sure that the lights, that I recover all the highlights, all the shadows, all this before I go into Photoshop. Okay, so here is the photo. So same thing is I'm gonna first retouch it in Lightroom. So open up, bring down the highlights, open up shadows, do my white point, which on this one needs some work, do some black point, add some contrast, boost the exposure, put this one in cloudy, or add a bit of magenta, add a bit of vibrance, clarity, vibrance, and saturation. Okay, and then I can do the right-angle filter, same story that we did. I can take the right-angle filter, it's the exact same thing then in camera. I just have to invert the mask, make sure I go to only temperature. That's the only slider I want to change. Add some yellow, add some magenta, feather 100%, maybe add some saturation, and boom, we have this same thing that we did in Camera Raw. And at this point, I'm ready to just right-click, edit, and edit in Photoshop CC 2015 to do what I just showed you before. Do all the cropping, take the cable out, all these things I can now do in Photoshop. And it's going to reopen it in Photoshop. That's the old one we did. It's going to open up a new tab with the one coming from Lightroom. So you're asking, so okay, I got it. The retouching is the same. What's the difference? Well, here is the difference. I'm gonna show you one by one. You have the library module. Now the library module is super important, and I think that is the one thing that I use the most. You see here in my catalog, I have 100. Let me show you. I can zoom in. 13307 photos. That catalog, and I have another catalog with another 100,000 photos. So let's say that I want. I can click on this photo, and let's say that I want to find a photo that was taken in on the Seine River. I can press Command F and type Seine River, and it's going to look through all the 130,000 photos and show me all the photos which were taken in the Seine River. Okay, you should check out my video. I have a video on how to master Lightroom CC in 1 hour. I go much more into details. I just want to show you the difference. So difference number one is you can basically catalog all your photo, and you can find them very fast using keywords, using the dates they were taken. That's a huge difference. That's something you cannot do just with Bridge or Photoshop. There's no way to catalog all your photos. Whenever I do a shoot, the first thing that I always do, and I've been doing it for 5 or 6 years now, is import them into Lightroom in the catalog so I can find them again. And usually I take between 20 to 30 seconds to find any photo that I've taken over the last 10 years. So that's pretty cool. That's really, just for that, for me, is a reason to use Lightroom. Okay, then we have the map module. Now the map module is basically the idea of the map module. You can take a photo like this one. This one actually shoot it exactly. Let me think. Notre Dame Boulevard, Saint Michel. Yeah, I shot this photo exactly here. So I can drag and drop a photo on the map. That's like Google Map, and it's going to assign GPS coordinate. The only use of the map module that I ever saw was when you Flick here, 500px, website that takes into account GPS data. It's kind of good to geotag your photo before you export them, so that now people will find out where exactly that photo was taken. That's a pretty cool thing. Now, book. Let me go on the Paris book. The book module is really interesting because the book module, you can actually make a book. That's something you cannot do in Photoshop. You can make a book and you can export it. So I made a very fake book in 2 seconds. So I have different views. That's the overall view of all the book. That's 2-page spread by 2-page spread. That's the cover of the book. And this is my book. And I can just directly, send it to a printer and just print it. They have a deal with Blurb, which does an amazing job of doing books. So that's something that you don't have in Photoshop, but I found very useful. And then you got the slideshow module. Now the slideshow module, I prepared a slideshow in Paris. It's pretty cool because you can export this as a video, and that's a great way to go and use YouTube, for example. You can make a slideshow with a nice music, royalty-free music, like I did here. So I'm gonna, and then you can, once you have it, so you can preview it. So I added some music, or you can export the video, which I already did. It's on my desktop. Let me show it to you. On my desktop here, desktop. It's called Paris Slideshow. And so I could literally put this up on YouTube, and it would be a good way for me to promote my photos. So that's something which is kind of cool. That you can do in Lightroom that you cannot do in Photoshop is slideshows, you know. And I have been using this to promote my work on YouTube in the past. Okay, so that's something pretty cool that only Lightroom does. And print, you can just print. Now that's something you could do from Photoshop. You can print, but there's something that I really love, which is the custom package, where you can drag and drop different photos. And I use that often when I have to make like a presentation of my work. I make a custom package, and I can just, you know, directly print this. To do this in Photoshop would take many minutes or hours if you're not familiar with it, when you can really do it very fast in Lightroom. And last but not least is the web. The web, that's something really cool that I love to do. Is they have different web gallery. I like the grid gallery or the square gallery, and that's something that I've been using all the time. Whenever I do a shoot for somebody, I create a gallery. It takes me 2 seconds. I already have my FTP data that you're going to get from your webmaster. You see here, and I put in /Paris. Now I'm on the web. Photo search / no, so that's my webmaster. My webmaster created like a sub directory called PS apps /Paris, and here's a gallery. So that's the link that I would do a shoot, and I would send this to a customer. That's the link I would send so that he can see the photo in big. These galleries are work with the iPhone because they are made in the HTML5. So that's pretty cool. And voila, so the web module is something I use all the time. Whenever I do a shoot, I send a gallery to someone. All you have to have is FTP codes. Once you have entered the FTP code, you only do that once. You can just create galleries in no time. It's like really takes me about 20 or 30 seconds to create a gallery. You just choose the model and click upload, and boom, I'm done. So basically, that's the idea. That's the difference between Photoshop and Lightroom. So it's really from a retouching viewpoint, there's no different. But from finding your photos, geotagging them, making books, making slideshows, printing them with cool custom package, or making web galleries, this is where the difference lies. Now, voila, I hope this made it clear. If you ever wondered, I hope you learned a couple of things. Check out my channel. I got a lot more, much more easier, beginner, if this was a bit too hard for you, a bit too fast, videos on how to retouch photos like this one. And voila, hope you like this. And I will see you in another episode, mesdames et messieurs. Do you want to get hundreds of RAW files from all over the place where you can play around with? Do you want to get amazing free Lightroom presets, free brushes, free Photoshop actions? All you have to do is enter your email address. You will receive an email. You can then create an account, and then you can access this free lesson tab. You can choose from over 200 free lessons. Every free lesson is going to have source files for you to download and play around with. It's a great way to learn photography, learn post-processing for nothing. No money, it's all free. It's a gift to you as a member of photoserge.com. So thank you and welcome, and let's do some photos together.